Hey, good morning everybody. Welcome to Reptiles in the News. I tell you what, this first story is something that I would imagine would be amazing to see in the wild. There's a park that everyone kind of knows over in South Africa named the Kruger National Park. It's one of the biggest national reserves. And there's always amazing footage of animals crossing and crocodiles catching things. Well, someone caught this on tape.
Hai visto?
Sì.
Every time I'm around a body of water, whether it's in South Africa or Australia, I tell you, you think about these crocodiles. You can literally, just like this lion, be kind of walking across or at the edge, and you literally do not see this huge 3, 4, 5 meter crocodile that is just under the surface. Get a little bit too closer. In this case, the lion just happens to walk right across, and out of nowhere, this crocodile explodes on him. Fortunately for the lion, he was a little bit quicker than the crocodile. Unfortunately for the crocodile, he didn't get himself a meal, but nevertheless, it's a pretty amazing sight to see, and one that I would love to see one day. Not that I want to see an animal harmed, because I hate that, but the nature of that is pretty incredible. Just think about that. Two immense predators with a lion and a crocodile kind of going head to head. In this case, the lion won, but not by much. That crocodile almost had himself a really good meal. And in this next story, we're going to stay in South Africa. I actually had the pleasure of meeting Arnie Hobbs. He's a 12-year-old passionate reptile keeper in South Africa. Believe it or not, he's been catching snakes, and he's a certified registered snake catcher since he was 9 years old. As a matter of fact, I met with Arnie. He was in my vlog, as a matter of fact, his mother and his father, and they actually told me about his passion of reptiles ever since he was 2 years old. Kind of sounds like someone else I know, doesn't it? But I guess he literally went through a venomous handling class, got his certification, and can actually remove cobras and black mambas. And if I remember correctly, I think his first actual black mamba removal was when he was 10 years old. Think about that. Black mambas are some of the most fast and furious creatures on the planet when it comes to snakes. Don't get me wrong, they're not devils or anything like that. They just want to be left alone like anything else. But my experience with black mambas, you have to be extremely experienced, and even when you're that experienced, you typically look like you don't know what you're doing. So Arnie, literally at the age of 10, did his first black mamba removal, and he told me he did a lot of Mozambique spitters and puff adders and all kinds of different venomous snakes. That's pretty impressive. But the thing about Arnie is he's super passionate and extremely charismatic. I mean, spending a little bit of time with Arnie that I did, I really could tell that this kid had something special. Not only was he unbelievably passionate about reptiles and conservation, but it just kind of exuded that to other people. He got other people around him excited. Arnie, I tell you what, you impressed me a tremendous amount, and I know we're going to be seeing a lot more of you in the future. This next story, beachgoers in the Fort Pickens area, which is basically around the Apalachicola County area, got a surprise on the beach when they were hanging out, and all of a sudden a 3 or 4 foot, what appears to be maybe a rattlesnake, which seems bizarre to me, happens to crawl out of the water. Well, it didn't even crawl out of the water. Rhonda Sanders actually said that she was there and it was really struggling to get out of the water. The snake somehow ended up in the ocean. Why a diamondback rattlesnake, if it ends up that that's what it was in the ocean, who knows? Somehow it got swept into the water. I'm not 100% sure. Possibly in some estuary. Maybe it was getting some water, going for a swim, got sucked out to sea in a riptide. I'm just speculating right now. Regardless, it was fighting to get out of the waves, and every time a wave would come in, it would get sucked back out. This poor snake was exhausted, but unfortunately the beachgoers were pretty afraid of the snake. And listen, if it really was a rattlesnake, you really don't want to go try to grab it and help it out of the water. But in this case, Rhonda actually said that all the people felt really bad for it. And fortunately, an animal control officer ended up showing up on scene, and with some tongs was able to take it out of the water, get it into a holding thing, and take it away. Again, there was no actual specific identification of the snake, but from what I can see, it's a good chance it was a rattlesnake. And that is probably one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen, because I have never seen a rattlesnake in the ocean or near the water. So I'm really not sure what happened here, but in the end, the snake was good. Everyone seemed to be happy. And I like the fact that there was some compassion in the story about the fact that people weren't horrified, but they actually felt bad for this struggling animal. So in the end, it actually was a pretty good story. And as with each week, I take a break from the news to just kind of share the things that I have found on the interwebs that make me happy this week. And we're going to start with Mona Cahill, that actually posted a picture of this unbelievable pied sea turtle. Called it yin and yang, rightfully so. I mean, that is incredible. I've seen albinos, I've seen leucisticus. This is the first time I've seen a pied, and holy cow, that thing is awesome. This next one is these 3 amazing geckos from JK Company. It looks to me like it's a black knight, maybe a Universe and then maybe a Super Snow Tremper, white and yellow. I'm not 100% sure. There was no actual captions on it, so I'm only doing the best I can to guess. But what amazing animals. A jet black one, a super white one, and then a black and white pied one. Those things are pretty incredible. This next picture was absolutely incredible. It actually is of bamboo rats, or coxeye, Porphyracia coxeye. They are an unbelievable colubrid snake that is incredible, and I'm kind of surprised that they're not even more popular than they are. They're relatively inexpensive for such an unbelievably striking animal, and there's a ton of different subspecies of Porphyracia that you can get if you want striped, you want banded. There's all kinds of different things. These guys are incredible, and they're actually really prolific. I mean, they can have 4 to 6 clutches if you feed them up, so these guys are absolutely gorgeous. And these guys were posted by Russell Buritz. Then Jimmy Berglund posted this unbelievable Ethiopian mountain adder. Holy cow, that is an amazing, amazing snake. Then this last photo was mind-blowing to me. You guys know that I love blue-tongued skinks. These are actually northern eastern blue-tongued skinks. They look more like the westerns because of the banding on them. I have never seen easterns like this, but I absolutely am blown away. Again, you guys know that I love blue-tongued skinks. I would love to have some animals like this. Holy moly. And before we get back to our last story of the day, I wanted to post the winner of the photo contest over on the fan group over on Facebook. I'll put a link in the description if you guys would like to join. It's a great group of people, but it actually is Sean Thompson and this beautiful caramel carpet python. Oh my gosh, I just love the forced perspective. The snake is in beautifully in focus on the head and then blurs out and back. Absolutely gorgeous shot, Sean. And then this last story, it's actually a really great conservation story. Turns out there's a river terrapin called the Sundarbans river terrapin that was essentially thought was extinct, but the TSA actually had a program with 14 males and 6 females. Again, it was thought that there was potentially none left in the wild. One of the members of the TSA, Rapali Ghosh, goes to the local fishing areas all the time to kind of interview the fishermen to see if they've ever seen any of these terrapins. Turns out that at this particular visit, she talked to a fisherman that said that they had caught a baby and actually had it for a while, but unfortunately it had perished. But this gave Rapali some hope that there might actually be some animals in the wild. Turns out while she was interviewing this fisherman, he actually said he knew of a local person that actually may have one of these as a pet. When Rapali actually went to go visit that person, believe it or not, there was a 16-year-old captive female that was actually tethered in a pond. It's kind of a bummer to think that in some of these parts of the world they would actually do that, where they would actually tie the animal up in a pond for 16 years. But the good news was it was a female, and with some negotiation, Rapali was actually able to get the animal into her breeding program. The next day she picked it up, took it back to the breeding program, and this is great news because number one, you know that there's animals still left in the wild. If there were 2 animals that she found, you know that there are more out, which is really great. Don't get me wrong, they're still critically endangered, but it's also great that she has another female to add to the breeding group that will hopefully one day help replenish the wild, or at least save the species. Regardless, I think this is an amazing story, and I love ending the In the News with a story like that. And that being said, I am going to go ahead and end the In the News. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. What was your favorite story? Was there something I didn't cover this week that you'd like me to talk about next week? I'm happy to do requested stories. Until next week, make sure to be kind to someone. You've been watching Reptiles in the News.